Welcome to the special Halloween episode of Crusty Old Comic Kooks. I'm your host, Captain Buttcrack. While it looks like I'm talking right now, I'm actually just waving my arms around in silence. The words will be recorded after I take the mask off. The magic of Hollywood! Ta-da! Today I am joined by my faithful sidekick, Boxxy Comix. How are you, Boxxy?
Happy Halloween, everybody!
Are you excited for our Halloween show?
I am. Do you want to see something scary?
Sure.
I farted.
Boy, you sure did. Smells like it smells like moldy old comics. Was that the scary thing?
No. Let me try again. Okay, here we go.
Wow, that is impressive and scary.
I want to suck your butt.
I think it's blood.
I want to suck your butt's blood.
Close enough. Okay, on with the show. I got a whole bunch of old horror comics from yesteryear, and we're going to go through them today together, page by page, including the hilarious and ridiculous ads. My advice, watch this on a big screen TV. Do not watch it on your phone. That way you can see the art blown up, all big and nice. Okay, starting with the old school classic, Tales from the Crypt and Haunt of Fear. EC Comics, or Entertaining Comics, put horror comics on the map with their gruesome and entertaining tales of murders and monsters. The popular 90s show uses actual stories from the comics, but modernized. The original comics are extremely expensive, but the floppy reprints in the 90s were a great way to read them and not too costly. Daddy needs his medicine. I love their mascots, the old witch, the vault keeper, and the crypt keeper. Look at them sexy faces. Little factoid, the only time those three show up together outside of these comics is in the wonderful cartoon Tales from the Crypt Keeper. So you can find that on YouTube. Actual 90s cartoon adapting the original comics. So that's real fun. Great way to introduce your kids to horror. Inside, there are several tales from different series that they had back in the day, but one of them is one of the most infamous, called Foul Play. And look at the sweet art of the Crypt Keeper's ugly mug. He was changed a little bit for the show.
Remember, folks, you can pause anytime and actually read the pages of the comic, too.
You know, there's not a lot of baseball-themed horror stories, so right off the bat, I loved it. The setup is two rival teams are playing a high-stakes game. I love how much expression artist Jack Davis, who went on to become one of the founding artists of Mad Magazine, puts into the faces and body language. And in the story here, a player unexpectedly tries to steal a base and slides into a baseman. Nobody, not even his own teammates, know why he did it. But the guy his spikes cut, the baseman, his leg is bloodied up, and then he starts to feel ill. And their star hitter suddenly can't play ball to save his life, and they are beginning to suspect foul play.
I was almost a professional baseball player.
You were?
I had a mean slider. You want to see?
Sure. Ow, that hurt. Wow, what an arm. That is actually impressive.
Unfortunately, I can't run because I got no legs. But I would have been great.
Yes, I think you would have. And I think I have more brain damage now. Not that I can afford to have much more. Okay, back to the story. The ball game is over, the bad guys have won, and the star hitter Deegan croaks. and the doctor reveals it's poison. Don't take a big brain genius to figure out the spikes were poisoned, and that's why that dastardly player slid into him. So the losing team hatches a plan for revenge. One thing I find interesting about these old comics is they haven't quite figured out the language of comics yet. And everything's kind of squished, and they don't quite know how to space the word balloons. I find that very charming. And so they their plan succeeds in luring him to the baseball field, and they murder him. And here's the big shocker. They disassemble him and play baseball with his body parts. His guts are, if you look closely, his guts are stretched out for baselines. His torso is the catcher's chest pad, and his head is the ball, and his leg is the bat. Even for this series, this is more gruesome than normal, and I love it. I do like that they made it yellow just to kind of tone down the gruesomeness a tiny bit. What a wonderful comic. Okay, moving on to the next terrifying tale, The House of Mystery. I bought this the second I saw this cover.
Happy birthday, everybody!
And to you too! All right, look at the wonderful dramatic shading on this cover. Shocked, shadowy faces, the foreground with the two silhouette and the skeleton covered in cake coming out of the cake. That is just gorgeous. Let's dare to open the cover and see what terror awaits. Ah! A Hostess fruit pie ad! Scary! As a connoisseur of comic book ads, I have read a lot of Hostess pie ads, and this is a good one. Usually it ends with the hero throwing a Twinkie into a crook's mouth, making him stop committing the crime immediately, but here Soups tricks a reporter who's about to out him as Clark Kent by replacing his Superman costume with fruit pies. So if these comic ads were to be believed, superheroes were all running around everywhere buying all the fruit pies they could. All right, great splash page here with Kane setting up the story. And here we are at the tacky insurance convention where this poor young lady gets drooled on and leered at by nasty-ass businessmen. Great art by Frank Robbins, especially on the cartoonish faces of the drunk businessmen. And poor Myrna's dark and spooky-looking boyfriend, the waiter, has bigger plans for the both of them. Look at that face. That is definitely a sinister planning face. All right. Oh, gross. Oh, I need more medicine. Okay. Myrna's shady boyfriend, Frankie, lays out the plan to rob the old biddy of her priceless jewelry. But before we can get into that, it's time for an ad. The Razzles Dazzle Steaks. This candy is still around. I've never seen it, though. But in this amazing contest, 1,500 winners could win an exciting Reggie Razzle doll. And here's what it looks like.
Hey, that guy's cool. Yeah, I like him. He's real cool. I'd hang out with that guy anytime. Just Boxy and Reggie, eating Razzles and making memories. Yeah, man. Enter that contest.
Yeah, I'll do that. Now on to the next page. Another ad. Look at that. This first ad is real neat. It's the Amazing World of DC Comics, which was a fan magazine produced by DC highlighting their creators. But what's crazy about this ad is the person with the pan for a helmet is the original Red Tornado. Yes, that robot dude who flies around like a tornado, pretty famous in the DC world, originally started out as a secret identity for Ma Hunkel, and it was a comedy, which just looks absolutely adorable to me. So if I ever see any of those on sale in boxes, I will scoop them up. Now, back to the story. Myrna hesitantly agrees to go along with Frankie's sinister plan. Boxy, you want to do some dramatic reading of this page with me?
Oh, boy.
All right, you be Frank and I'll be Myrna. Here we go.
All we got to do is wait until she leaves her room, And zippity-doo-doo! We make the snatch. It'll go easy.
It sounds easy, Frankie, but I don't know. Maybe a little heist like this is getting out of our league. Maybe.
Look, damn it! You wanna be giving popping out of cakes for them bug-eyed businessmen creeps, don't ya? You're always telling me how creepy they are, aren't ya?
Okay, Frankie, okay. As long as you're sure we won't get caught. And so, by the way, I worked on that voice for a long time. A lot longer than I'd like to admit. And so that night.
See? What I tell you, just like clockwork. Come on.
Frankie,
Stop worrying, will you? I'm the one that's doing the work. You just stand there and stand guard.
Well, Frankie's easy score just got complicated by chance when a friend comes over to invite Miss Van Stanton to dinner, and she returns to her apartment to get an umbrella. Look at the expression of pure terror on Myrna's face, man. That is just great. Well, it don't take no Columbo to figure out what's going to happen next. The old lady's getting a new hat, a glass ashtray hat. Myrna's obviously distraught, but Frankie's keeping it cool. I am a little curious about that pose in the middle panel. What exactly is he doing? Okay, old lady got her brain bashed in, and now to a happy, smiling kid. The whiplash ads give you in comics always crack me up. And now here's a page of cool-ass stuff I'd love to own. X-ray glasses, throw your voice, trick gum, la classics. But I was most intrigued by the flashing eyes ad. Blinking your eyes fast appear as streaks of lightning? Well, I Googled these and found a first-person account of what they actually were. You glue tinfoil to your eyes and stand in front of a light blinking. Classic rip-off ad. Although I kind of want to try that. Maybe later. Back to the story. Virginia goes back to check on her friend and finds her dead, but also a clue. As Van Stanton died, she pulled off the giant Hotel Conrad button, linking the murderer to where he works. Folks, if you're going to murder somebody, don't wear your name tag or a giant button that says where you work. Just a pro tip. Meanwhile, Frankie is pushing Myrna in a cake to the next show so they can play it cool and bail the next day, but is interrupted by the fuzz. Frankie panics and bolts. Okay, and now for another ad. Boxxy, are your children ashamed you never finished high school?
Yes, they are. They don't talk to me anymore.
Mine too! What an ad. I love that she looks like the saddest 1950s housewife ever. It's Wayne's School to the Rescue. And another ad page. I love that giant sold out, making kids worry they might not get another one. Classic ad technique. Out of all these wonderful books, the one that caught my eye is the Bible comic. It looks kind of crazy. And it is! The art for the Bible is intense. A Joe Kubrick wraparound cover looking hella Old Testament. If I ever find this in the wild, I will scoop it up and then read it, and then I can go to heaven. And another ad, 3 in a row. Pretty straightforward comic book ad, nothing too special. And another ad, 4 pages in a row. All right. More crazy shit for kids, Venus flytrap, sneeze powder, potato gun, and whatnot. And the super catalog. I love this art, especially the dot shading. His big old Superman muscles. Back to the story. If you can remember what's happening, Frankie tries to race some bullets and fails, while the clueless Myrna is still in the cake, unaware that Frankie has bit the big one. Dig that getting shot up art in panel 2. Frankie is done. And due to a mix-up at this very busy hotel, Myrna ends up going to the wrong room, to a housewares demonstration event. Nothing wrong can happen there, right? But before we find out what happens, another ad! With the scary life-size monster ghost that obeys your commands. Of course, it's a ripoff, but a pretty cool one nonetheless. put a sheet over a balloon with some helium, and pull it along a string. Genius! Speaking of ghosts, Boxxy, what are you going to be for Halloween?
Oh, I'll show ya. I'm gonna be the scariest guy of all. Freddy Fluter!
Freddy Fluter? You mean Freddy Krueger?
I mean Freddy Fluter! Freddy Fluter, you know him? He shows up in kids' dream and plays the flute all crazy in their faces to annoy them. Welcome to flute time, kid!
Not exactly familiar with that guy.
Come on, you know. 1, 2, Freddy's fluting on you. 3, 4, gonna flute some more. 5, 6, doing cool flute tricks. 7, 8, playing that flute you hate.
Wow, I don't actually know him, but he does look scary.
Sure it is. Sometimes he plays with his nose.
Okay, nose fluting. That's absolutely terrifying. And back to the story, another ad. This is one of the heavier ad comics I've read in a while. And this looks like a general DC Comics characters ad with a focus on their new fantasy line.
I got a question. Why's Justice shooting Thor? What did he do?
That is a great question. I think it's just a weird layout choice. Boy, they were going hard on fantasy in this era. The only one of all these characters I really see a lot of in boxes is Warlord, which was a wonderful comic because it was a sexy guy wearing next to nothing. Usually it's women wearing next to nothing in fantasy worlds. But Warlord basically wore what a woman fantasy character in that era would wear. And I am here for it.
Is he pooping?
Actually, maybe he is here. He is the sexy comics fantasy daddy of yesteryear. And back to the story. Poor Myrna's just starting to figure out something is amiss when wham! Talk about a gruesome end. Also, do you really need a gigantic machine to cut cakes? That's my other question.
Are they still gonna eat that cake?
Oh, I don't know. But I love the bored stockbroker who's mad a pretty little lady didn't jump out of his cake. A little comedy in an otherwise grim horror tale. Happy Death Day! And now, if you're still here and not scared and ran away, here are some random horror covers of interest that I've collected over the years. This is a delightful cover. But the thing I love about it most is the little gun coming out of his finger. Pew, 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 pew. I don't know how this guy's going to type. Here's a sweet Spider-Woman horror-themed cover. I love that they used actual movie stills for the cover from Universal Monsters. That is sweet. And she does fight the Wolfman, so that's not an inaccurate cover. Unfortunately, she does not fight Frankenstein, but the X-Men do. Actually, Frankenstein had his own Marvel comic and fought all kinds of people later on, and they changed his look a bit. But here he is with the classic early first Flathead movies look. And here's Frankie giving Angel the business. I love how much Angel's thinking while he's getting his ass kicked. Have you ever thought that much when you were being punched that hard? Want to read this dialogue, Boxxy?
His raw power's beyond belief. And his fists are like iron. He slapped me away like I was a tennis ball. Zippity-doo-doo.
Here's another House of Mystery, the comic we read before. I bought it because that crying vampire was just too good to pass up. Oh, what do you think he's crying about, Boxxy?
Oh, maybe someone tried to give him steak for dinner.
Okay. Speaking of Dracula, here's a Dell comic weirdie, Dracula the Superhero. A modern-day descendant of Count Dracula is a scientist who invents a formula for healing brain damage that a bat knocks over into his cup and he drinks it, giving him superpowers?
Is that a bat turd?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Dried blood? A tiny carrot? When you buy old comics, you never really know what's going to be on them. Anyway, the Dracula comic was not long for this world with 3 issues, but Dell also made a Frankenstein superhero comic, and it's about as derpy as you would imagine. Dell comics were special, as a lot of comics in the 12-cent price range tend to be. He also made a werewolf in the same series. I've never seen that one, but I own the other 2, so if I find one of these, I'll own all 3. And that's it. That's our show! Rawr, rawr. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it was too scary. And Boxxy, what did you think? I'm being fluted to death.
Boo! Goodbye, everybody. Happy Halloween. Be careful trick-or-treating this year. Make sure to wear costumes you can move easily in and see out of. And don't crisscross the street. Go to all the houses on one side, then use a crosswalk to get to the other side and trick-or-treat at those houses. And bring a flashlight. And only go to houses where the light is on. Have your parents inspect your candy and throw away anything that looks suspicious. Don't eat too much candy the first night. You can get a stomachache. And remember to brush your teeth before you go to bed. Have fun and have a safe Halloween, everybody!